just for my guys, just so they can listen along. We just leverage.
Awesome, mate. Awesome. Cool. Hello and welcome to the Glasgow PT Podcast, episode 42. We should hopefully be coming to you live through a stream as well as on Instagram. As the heading suggests, Isolation for the Nation, part 3. So again, we'll run with this Isolation for the Nation headline just so that we can keep things categorised while this is all going on. I'm joined today by Scott Simpson as always.
Hello.
And good, mate. Good. How are you?
Yeah, not bad. Not bad at all.
Good to see you. Even if it is virtually.
I know. It's a bit weird, but
this is the longest we've been apart, I think.
Yeah, it's been difficult. I've lost a bit more weight, and but I'm doing what I need to do.
You're excelling in this current situation. So me and Scott today are joined by. We're very excited by this. Actually, it's one of the leading guys in Scotland and certainly in the UK as well, and it's Joe Parrish.
Boys, how are we? An absolute pleasure to be on board. So thank you so much for obviously taking the opportunity and for asking. I'm excited for this as well.
Yeah, mate, it's awesome to have you. Finally get a good proper chat. And hopefully with our three heads knocked together, people can get some value at this. Joe, just for the sake of my audience, if anybody's been living under a rock for the last couple of months or years, could you just tell them exactly who you are, mate, what you do, and we will get cracking.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Joe, originally still am English, but I've been in Scotland for the last 7 years now. So pretty much classify myself as as Scottish. I am the coach, so I help busy personal trainers stay on top of their own health, body shape and performance. That's something that I've been specializing in for the last 6 or 7 months. Prior to that, have helped hundreds of people transform through photo shoots, competitions, bodybuilding preps, etc. I run an online consultancy business with other coaches as well. And yeah, I've basically been an online coach for the last 5 years now since I graduated from uni. And yeah, dude, that's fundamentally about it. I've done a number of different challenges, bodybuilding, physique competition, Ironman, and a lot of different things. And jack of all trades, master of none, I suppose. Yeah. As it were. So that's pretty much me in a nutshell, dude. But now I spend the majority of my time specializing in helping personal trainers look after themselves when they spend so much time looking after and serving everybody else. Yeah, mate, that's something that even myself and Scott will know all too well. We make jokes about it, but it does come to a point where it actually is a serious issue. And, you know, I'm networking with a lot of you guys in Phil's group, and the same message applies. You know, we're all kind of like, what can we do for the client? What can we do for their health and fitness? And me and Scott make jokes that all we do is full body workouts now because we don't have time for the big fancy splits that we used to do. So, yeah, mate, it's totally understandable. And it looks like you've got that niche down to a T. So I'll be excited to watch another 6 months of how you coach other PTs into improving their health and fitness, man. But yeah, mate, you know, let's just get fucking cracking, will we? Let's talk about one of the things that I wanted to get you on for, because I know how much you sort of specialize in it, especially when you talk about PTs, busy personal trainers who, you know, their business is thriving, and you know, I know 1 or 2 of the guys in the group that you coach, and it's great, you know, the excitement of reaching a certain target in terms of finances, or you know, client base, or clients, big groups of clients getting fantastic results. But ultimately, the biggest thing that's got to take priority is your health. And in doing that, when you talk about a busy individual, you have to look at every single hour of their day. Yep. You have to break down exactly what they're doing in the morning, right up to the afternoon, right up to the finished work. And this applies now even more so. You know, the guys and girls listening to this have got a lot more time in their hands, which means we need to be even more proactive with what exactly we're doing, because, you know, the non-negotiables we talk about and we set out for our clients, it can really shape your day. Depending on 1 or 2 or 3 that you do first thing in the morning, whether it be get hydrated, move your body, you know, what you take in from that a social media aspect from first thing in the morning. So, mate, can I just, you know, me and Scott will just probably ask you a few questions, mate. Scott's always got some good questions as well, and I just want to ask you what in the last week, what have you sort of said to your clients and coaches in terms of, right, here's the non-negotiables? Even if you just give us a wee rundown, mate, 3, 4 or 5 of them that you think's mega important in this current time. Superb. Awesome, brother. I think number 1 that I'll start with is just getting people to realign and remember that their goals are still their goals. Because I think first and foremost, obviously now there's quite a lot of uncertainty. There is obviously a little bit of overwhelm, and obviously our lives have almost been flipped upside down. And I think it's important just to get clients realigned and just getting them understanding that their goals that they had on January the 1st are still now fundamentally their goals at the end of March. Nothing has changed. The only thing that has now changed is obviously we're now having to take a little bit of a detour and take a slightly different approach on how we're still going to continue to work towards those goals. So I think number one of the kind of key non-negotiables that I've put in place for people is just get themselves to realign, recalibrate, and get them to appreciate and understand that at this present moment in time, their health is their wealth. Fundamentally, that is the greatest investment that we have available to us anyway. And I think this, at this present moment, is almost teaching us more so than ever before how important and how valuable that is. And we've had a lot of things at the moment that are external that have been taken away from us. But what can you now control? What can you now influence? And now how can you ensure that we're going to be proactive and progressive, and we can put the necessary strategies and steps in place for them to be able to continue to move forward? Because when emotion is high, intelligence is low. Now, everybody has gone a little bit crazy and gone a bit mental because of the whole situation, completely understandable. But what happens is then people make irrational decisions and basically base and act upon emotion. So number one was just getting them to recalibrate and realize now that we still have the tools. We still have absolutely everything that they need for them to be able to progress. We just need to be proactive and adaptive, and just make sure that we then place high key result areas, and we put non-negotiables in place. And then we have high performance habits in there that have an identity and have a meaning that's going to allow them to continue to move forward, which is going to be key. So I think that's obviously number one. Number two would be giving every day and each hour of that day a purpose. I think it's so easy to get caught up, and I'm sure you boys will be exactly the same. If I don't have my day mapped out, I have a to-do list, and all of a sudden I just get overwhelmed. And it almost then ends up being paralysis by analysis, because I've got so much to do that I end up doing pretty much nothing, or I end up backloading it and leaving it all to the end of the day, and then fundamentally really never get anything done. I then feel unfulfilled, I then feel guilty, I then feel bad, and I think, what's the point? And that's obviously when that kind of self-sabotage creeps in. So massive thing for me is just making sure now, especially with guys and girls that are going to be at home a lot more often, that we actually have a plan, we have a strategy, we have a purpose. So every hour is mapped out. So your chill out time, your working time, your training time, your feeding time is now mapped into the hours of the day, because otherwise you're just going to end up everything amalgamating and coming into one, and people aren't really ever going to be able to get anything effectively done, which will then obviously just lead to further procrastination and actually not maximizing the time that they now have available. So I think, giving each hour of the day, giving each day a purpose and a meaning. What do I want to accomplish? What do I want to have accomplished today that will actually mean that I've taken one step closer to where I want to be in body, business, brain, and balance, which are kind of the 4 key result areas that I look at with all of my guys. Which I think is really, really important, just to kind of have planned and outlined. And I don't know where you guys are, but I'm sure actually now spending a little bit more time at home as well, it's easy to get caught up and overwhelmed with all the different things that you could be doing. And then you end up realizing that it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon and you yet haven't done anything. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, man. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
So like Scott, sorry, mate.
No, one of the things I noticed as well is that when it comes to structure and stuff like that, it's normally sort of given to you a little bit by your daily routine. I've kind of had conversations with clients over the last few days, and I think a lot of it is centered around them. Well, certainly for the ones who are now working from home, it's centered around they've now lost that structure, and it's sort of sometimes easier to have. So something like, for example, they have to get up at a certain time of the day because they then have to go to work. And then when they're at work, they then have breaks and lunch times. And you can almost factor in meal timing and things like that around their kind of standard routine. But a lot of people have lost that now. And it's kind of a little bit about recreating that.
Yeah, massively. Even simple things like, wake up times, lunch breaks, dinner times. When you work from home, you spend more time at home, your whole routine and structure goes completely out the window. And it's then important that we are disciplined and we are able to be proactive and we're able to put a strategy in place. And it's just something that you plan the night before, but it's important that you plan in every component. So we now just don't plan in our work time as an example, but we also plan in our procrastinating time, the times in which we're going to chill out, even your feeding times as well, just because that gives you structure, it gives you routine. And I also think at this moment in time whereby everybody's going to be in the one place, in the four walls of the house, you want to make sure that you can compartmentalize everything that you do. So what I try to do is I'll always work in my office. I'll always try and train downstairs. I'll try and eat in my kitchen, and I'll chill out on my sofa, just so I can try to mentally compartmentalize every aspect of what I'm doing, so I can make sure that my environment is conducive to what I'm currently doing at that moment in time. So I'm not blending the both together. Because I don't know about you, but if you try working on the sofa and then you try and chill out on the sofa, you never really work effectively because you're in chill out mode. And then when you are chilling out, you can't chill out because you spent all day working on the sofa.
Yeah.
It's even little things and little habits like that. And space can obviously sometimes be an issue. So it might even just be the ability to, if you're working on your kitchen table, sit on one side of the table whilst you're working, but actually when you're eating, go and sit on a different chair. And it's just that ability and that mindset thing, just to come away from that environment and go into a different environment, that I think mentally is going to be essential, especially at this moment in time. Otherwise, I think you're just going to end up doing everything in one room and you're never really going to get any headspace. And will drive you crazy.
Yeah, I know for me anyway, and the people listening to this, they won't really see this, but I end up lying back like this, then I'm typing like this. And it's just no good for anybody. No one's benefiting for that. The work's not getting done. And one of the biggest things I picked up on that you said there, Joe, is the snowball effect that it comes from it. And you know, when you get to 4 o'clock and you haven't achieved it, and you just feel way worse. But really, it's been you were the one in control of it all. And even more so now, it's not like, I mean, there is people working from home, but no one's dropping an email or no one's pulling you into a meeting while you're there. You're here and ready to go. You can organise your day. So for the people who used to say, I just don't have time to organise my day the way Joe is telling me, you do now. You know, every hour has almost been given back to you. And Scott's been making a big point about this the last couple of days, that the structure is now there for you. You now have you've got the power. No one's there pulling you away. Don't get me wrong, there's probably people with kids and stuff that are running ragged, but it's still 100% better than it ever was.
Massive.
So it's important to get that control back. It might be a bit, to be fair to some people, it's like, I don't know what to do now, I've got all the control. Well, that's where if you're listening to the sort of advice that Joe was giving there and just map out your time, it might sound very structured, but guess what? We've got the time now. And we've got the ability to do it. So, Joe, would you say that the night before is probably your best to map out the day ahead for the next day, or when do you tend to do it, mate?
Yeah, so what I'll do is basically I'll literally map out the night before. Literally, I've got a journal that I'll literally just use. You might be able to see, so basically I will literally kind of map out every hour of the day and basically write everything down. And I'll kind of write a rough plan, and then the following morning when I get up, I'll then just kind of finalize, check my phone, anything additional that's come up, I'll then implement. And then what I also do is I have a must-do list and I kind of when I get time to do list, because I think otherwise we end up overwhelmed with all the things that we can be doing. So big thing is looking at your key result areas. So actually, what do I need to do today? What do I need to accomplish this week? Again, within my body, my physical, mental health, within my business. So that might be, your work, career, study, whatever it might potentially be. Your balance, your social, your relationships, and then also your brain. So your study, your CPD, your podcast, whatever it might potentially be. What do I need to accomplish and achieve within each one of those key result areas today for it to be a successful day? Right, that goes into my kind of must-do list. And then all the other things that come up and crop up, which they do, they can go into the when I get time list, which we can almost, again, give you that separation and that differentiation, which actually can be quite nice, again, for you mentally. And it just kind of takes away a lot of the noise. And also at the same time, doesn't make you feel bad or doesn't take up brain space because you're thinking, I need to remember to do that. Because you've already noted it down and you've potentially already planned it for later on in the day or later on in the week or whenever it might potentially be. And taking one step back from that, I would almost plan your week as an overview first. Plan your week as an overview. What do you want to accomplish on Monday through to Sunday? And then I would break it down into daily, and then I'd break it down into hourly off the back of that. So I'd plan an outline on a Sunday, what my key goals are, put them into the days of the week that I know that I've got particular tasks or things that I need to action or implement. And then obviously I would compartmentalize every single night what I'm then going to do the following day, if that makes sense.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. And I think I always like this is a small detail, but hopefully people pick up on it as they start to do this, is I like the idea of planning my next day. So the next day at night, usually you're a bit more tired. Usually you react, you maybe think differently, because I think if you just do it in the morning, you wake up, you get the coffee and you're like, here we go. And I almost feel like sometimes that leads to a bit of overwhelm and a bit of unrealistic planning. So doing the two, I feel, is a good balance, because at night you're less ambitious and less forward thinking because you're a bit more tired. But what that does do is gives you the two different ends of the spectrum. And I find when you, after the morning review for the week, the plan for the day, you sort of look at it and it gives a nice balance. And I know that might sound very, very sort of specific, but hopefully when people listen to this and in the coming days, they pick up on that and go, right, I get what you meant by that. And I just feel that if you know yourself, if you plan stuff for a Monday for the week and you've had a shit weekend, not very productive, you aim high, don't you? And sometimes you need a bit of a check. Otherwise, come Wednesday, you'll be in that vicious cycle again. So sometimes what I mean by that is just planning when you don't want to plan, when you're not feeling as great. Because when you do that, you'll start to be a bit more realistic, and it will balance out with the good times of you feeling ambitious and ready to go. If you guys listen to this podcast, you'll probably be like, right, I'm ready to go. But I would advise you to write some stuff down for the night and then next day as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, huge, dude. And I think it's one of those things as well where it's like, we need to, something that I've really tried to kind of drum home to myself and also to clients and hosts and everything else. Like, we really need to get good at doing the things that we don't want to do. So there's plenty of times where I can't be bothered to do certain tasks, map out my day, map out my week, but it's just having that discipline and being able to attach that to a kind of higher purpose or a higher meaning that's just going to then hold me accountable and that's going to force me to do it. Because now is the time where you can get complacent. Now's the time where you can almost just, nobody's watching. And I think that's the way you think, what happens behind closed doors? Nobody's watching, nobody can see what you're doing. But when this passes, which it will, where are you then going to be? What progress do you want? What progress would you have liked to have made? What position would you like to be in? And how now do you want to finish your year? Because you can now be proactive or reactive. You can use this time wisely to be able to progress, develop, work on yourself, work on the aspects that you maybe haven't had the time for. Or you can now just basically see this as a jolly and sit on the sofa. I think, right, okay, gyms are closed, so what's the point? I can't really do anything. And you end up drinking, eating, instilling and building bad or poor behaviors. And then before you know it, when gyms do reopen, you're going to be 10 steps behind. You're going to have to work twice as hard to be able to get back to where you want to be. And that obviously off the back of this kind of challenge at the moment is obviously something that is going to be difficult. So I certainly think now it's about just channeling your energy into what do I want to accomplish and where do I want to be at the end of this? And is that now in alignment with my highest values, number one? And is that in alignment with my goals?
Yeah, spot on, mate. Yeah, mate, that kind of takes me into the next point that I'll ask both you guys your opinions on it. And I don't know, I'm sure you guys all picked up on this, and probably it goes in, sort of ties in with the realigning of your goals. And me and Scott brought it up in our previous podcast. But what I was thinking was people just, anybody, like Joe said at the start, if you look at from January compared to where you are now. So I think it's worth people reflecting on how January and February went. All this has happened in March, right? Well, the world's been turned upside down. But let's take a look back at January and February for a second. One, to distract ourselves from what's going on currently. But two, to get some sort of reference point to how did you go? Did you do what you said you were going to do? 2 full months there, we were able to, sort of do our January goals or whatever it was, the New Year resolution. But from January the 1st, right up until when, the gym started closing, did you do enough? Can you reevaluate and go, what went wrong, what went right? And one that will either give you some confidence that, something for 8 weeks there, I really turned a corner. I was really doing well there. Or could it be, look, I didn't turn a corner. I had all the tools there. There was no excuse. Now I'm on lockdown and I'm like, home workouts. Yeah. I think that's just that will just be something to get people thinking. From a black and white, transparent point of view, look, you said you're saying now that the gyms are shut and that was the problem. But for 2 months there, you didn't do what you said you were going to do. So Scott, I'll get you sort of reflecting on that, mate, and talking about that, tying in with realign, and then I'll jump and see what Joe's got to say about that as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think the word you used at the end there is quite important in reflecting. I think that this, in some ways, this can open up an opportunity for people to reflect on certain things, because a lot of people are in the same boat where we're kind of having to hit the reset button to an extent. That doesn't necessarily mean like scrap your goals and go after something else, but a little bit of a reset button so that we can realign things, have a look at how we're going to now keep things moving forward and progressing without adapt to the situation as it is just now. So I think that reflecting back on maybe what's worked for you, what hasn't worked for you, can be an important part of that process. So I think reflection is quite a good thing to do at this time. And what that can lead to is you kind of strategizing more effectively, and then actually making you more proactive and more productive. And I think in a kind of broader sense as well, when you start to do these things and you start to put things in place that kind of take you forward, like, it is a little bit of a frustrating situation, and some people are in a far worse situation than others, obviously. But being proactive and being productive is massive from a mindset perspective as well, just in terms of making you feel like you do still have purpose, that you are still tied to your goals, that there is still things that you can achieve. And maybe, being reflective is an important part of that, looking back over what you've done over the last couple of months and thinking to yourself, right, okay, what opportunities actually lie in front of me here just now, rather than it all just necessarily being like, well, what's the point? This obstacle's been put in my way and it's insurmountable, when the reality is, for most people, overwhelmingly, it really isn't insurmountable. It's just about having a plan to take you forward. So I think reflection is an important part of that. I'd agree.
Yeah, mate. Yep. Joe, anything to add to that, buddy?
I think you just, exactly as Scott said, it almost gives you an opportunity to kind of realign and recalibrate. I think it also gives you a great opportunity for you to be able to realize, actually, you can look great, but fundamentally, if you're not focusing and following a kind of health first system, if you're not looking after the engine beneath the exterior, then fundamentally, what you're doing all this for. So I actually think it's a great opportunity for us, especially as health and fitness professionals, for us to be able to realign and re-outline the importance of health, well-being, what we're actually training for, what does it give us? And this is a great opportunity for you to be able to look at lifestyle considerations, modifications, and go, right, okay, you know what, my sleep quality isn't as good as it could have been. That's something that I'm going to realign. My stress management and my stress management techniques actually probably haven't been as good as they could have been. My food quality, right, okay, I've been hitting my calories, but actually when I look at my food diversity and the colors that I'm now getting into my day, actually, I'm just fulfilling calories for the sake of filling calories. I'm not really conscious about the foods that I'm actually consuming. And I'm going to the gym to train because I want to look good. But actually now that's almost been stripped away from us a little bit. It actually makes you realize and appreciate now that you don't just go to the gym to look good. You actually now go to the gym for so many other reasons. There's the community, there's the health aspect, there's the mental health aspect, there's the social aspect. And so I think it does allow you to kind of recalibrate, I suppose, and it allows you to appreciate health, allows you to appreciate that both physically and mentally, and will give you a great opportunity now to be able to lay the I always look at this as like the analogy I use is lay the foundations to build the house. Before any client goes on any transformation journey, we always try to lay the foundations with habits, routines, health, getting everything kind of optimized, as it were, before then we look at building the house. Because if we build the house without the foundations, the house is simply going to blow down or fall over when something bad happens or when there's a certain circumstance out with our control. So this is a great opportunity now for people to be able to lay the foundations before they want to go and build the house. And they've got no better opportunity to do it than now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly that. And I think it's also worth people start to realize that, you know, you see people making jokes about missing the gym already. And, you know, for me, watching that at various different audiences and seeing that is, you know, it's time to make it, you know, take advantage of that when it comes back round. You know, like Joe said, it's time to actually realize that, right, you can get in shape. One of the biggest tools, or what's perceived as the biggest tools, has been taken away from you, which is the gym, when actually there's a million other things. Like Joe said, the foundations are paramount to it. Otherwise, you know, it's a bit like looking good, getting a transformation without, you know, really understanding what happened behind that transformation. Because once you leave your coach, or once you certain circumstances arise, you'll be back to square one without any kind of education behind you. So yeah, I think being grateful for when the gym comes back round, but also being wary that, you know, there's some clients who have said to me, you know, I just missed the gym, I can't get into the home workouts, and I'm like, you weren't exactly Arnold Schwarzenegger, but, you know, when the gym was open. So I think you need to realise that this is the time now to get a lot more factors in play, and figure out stuff that works for you and triggers that make you see the bigger picture. From that sense. But yeah, like I think, you know, the non-negotiables, you know, the reviewing where you've been so far, with that, I think as well, guys, it's just worth noting about, people actually reaching out for help, people speaking to people. We're lucky enough as fitness professionals right now, we're all grouping together and, like this podcast, we're all just trying to, solve problems and give solutions to this current situation. So, but for a lot of people, I'm not saying that everybody should reach out and start speaking up, because not everybody's like that. You get a lot of introverts and stuff. I know that. But guys, I just want to encourage people to just, reach out, speak to someone, whether it be a family member or a coach. Us guys here are just doing this for the value of yours. But guys, what would you say is the best, bit of advice you'd give and the reason why you should reach out? Is there anything you'd like to sort of bring up?
Come on, Scotty.
So I think it's more, for the most part, like there's obviously like this very practical thing that's happening just now where a lot of people will feel a little bit like disconnected. And I suppose with social media and the internet being as it is, that's maybe less of a thing. Like we're sitting here just now doing a podcast talking to each other and we're miles apart. So it's maybe less of a thing, but I think I can't help but feel like there probably is, for a lot of people, an element of feeling quite disconnected. And I think that can maybe lead to people withdrawing a little bit from some sort of potentially really productive process that they were a part of before, not feeling like they have the ability to adapt and change it up. And a lot of that maybe comes down to not being able to access the resources or the knowledge that you need in order to be able to do that. So I think reaching out is a big part of it. I think that a lot of people will be quite surprised at how happy, keen people are to help just now. People are more than happy to do their bit just now more than ever. If it's I can understand people sometimes feeling a little bit intimidated at the prospect of kind of reaching out and asking for a little bit of help. But I would say in this particular situation now more than ever, people are really, really keen to do their bit.
Yeah, massively big. One big thing, sorry, is I'm just taking notes.
You get it.
But one big thing that I would say that kind of massively changed the game for me was just the quote, ego is the enemy. Because for me, I always found on a personal level now that actually reaching out was a sign of weakness. I found that a lot of people were reliant upon me. A lot of people came to me for guidance. A lot of people came to me for advice, for help. And I always then felt like I didn't have the ability to be able to then go and reach out myself because I felt like that was a sign of vulnerability. That was a sign of weakness. Now, vulnerability equals connection. So when actually you have the confidence, you can, in my instance, leave my ego at the door and appreciate and understand and accept that I can't do this alone. I can't do it myself. Regardless within what area or what remit that was. And my ability now to go and leverage and for me to be able to go and get experience or for me to go and get comfort or to go and communicate with somebody that could empathize, could understand, that could relate, I think is incredible. And I think the way in which we need to see this is I always think about us as like almost Duracell bunnies, as almost like kind of Duracell batteries. You only have so much energy each and every day that you have available at your disposal. And if you're spending so much time actually supporting everybody else and actually giving out advice, giving out tips, helping family members, friends, community, whoever it might potentially be, then you're almost draining your energy reserves from that battery. And now it's important for you that you can take the opportunity to go and kind of fill yourself back up and go and recharge and take somebody else's energy and go and offload a little bit as well and get some connection as well, which I think is huge. Because I think one big thing that we take from all of this is, everybody's together. A lot of people obviously have the same problems at this moment in time, but often people don't want to speak up or reach out because they don't want it to be seen as a sign of weakness, when if anything, actually that is nothing other than a sign of strength. And you're only going to be able to progress, grow, move forward, develop and overcome at a far, far quicker rate with that support mechanism. And the thing that I wrote down there when Scott was talking was just network and environment. Like your network and your environment now is going to be absolutely essential, which is why it comes back down to you guarding your inputs and limiting and managing your outputs. Because at the moment, you've probably got a whole host of people that are on your social media, that are in your, that are on BBC News, that are coming out with blogs and articles and everything else that's literally just filling your brain with negativity, filling your brain with scarcity, and filling your brain with all of these ideas and thoughts at the moment that are then just consuming you. And it's like perception. When you start to take that in, it's very, very difficult then to be able to offload that. So what I'd also say is just make sure that you are guarding and you're protecting yourself. We all have those people on social media that now all of a sudden have an opinion and are also experts. And the ones that literally will comment and will put something up every 10 minutes or every hour, and again, can quite often be quite negative. So even just guard your outputs. Look at actually who's on your social media feed. Look at who you're spending time with at the moment. And just actually see now on a selfish level, is that now serving you? Or is actually that now hampering you and stopping you from actually being able to progress? Because you need to be selfish in order for you to be selfless. So I think it's about you protecting what you have, safeguarding that, building up armor is kind of how I explain it to clients and coaches. And then making sure that you can then reach out and connect with the right people that you know are going to inspire you, that are going to help you grow. And this was clearly identified to me the other day when I spoke to my good friend, and I'm sure you guys know him as well, Neil McLean. I had a conversation with him on video call the other day, and off the back of that call, we were on the phone for about an hour. I was reinvigorated. I was motivated. I was super pumped. I was excited. I'd had a little bit of overwhelm, and we literally just had a catch up. We talked about kind of business, the world, life, personal, and off the back of it, my head was realigned. I was refocused. I was recharged, and then I was able to go and deliver the very best to my family, to my partner, to my clients. So I think it is important, that connection and that energy that we have within one another, that you need to protect. And also you need to reach out and look at other people's energy and take that in and immerse yourself in that, because that's going to allow you to enhance, grow, develop, and that will allow you then to deliver better and be the very best version of you to everybody that needs you the most.
Yeah, mate, love that. And that's so relatable. Everything you said there is for every PT listening to this as well. You know, it's very, very applicable to the PT and to just everyone listening to this, following us for transformations, fat loss, muscle building, all that kind of good stuff as well. Like for trainers is a big thing now, because you're going to start a lot of comparing. You're going to start looking and going, that trainer's doing all these live Zoom PT sessions. He's doing this, she's doing that. You know, you get a lot of trainers who aren't just... their style of training with clients isn't bootcampy style. It's not classes. It's straight up muscle building and bodybuilding approaches, maybe. So you'll start to probably be feeling right now that like this is not your time just now. This is the time of people who do classes and jump about in the living room. But I think what Joe just said there is it's important to, you know, number one, the community, the networking aspect, is going to be huge for you right now. What could you be doing as someone who doesn't particularly feel like they're thriving in this situation? Reach out, pick up the phone to someone like Joe did there, and your full day could change. It's easy for us just to sit here and serve our clients and give them advice and, you know, try and get them to feel the best they possibly can in this time. And I'll agree with Joe as well. Like the last couple of days, I've been kind of feeling like, there's only so much you can get someone to do a home workout. There's only so much you can say to get them to do their steps. You know, there's food in the supermarket shelves just now. Everything's fine. So diet can be fine. You can keep on top of diet with check-ins and stuff. But as a coach, you almost feel like you don't have a great deal of tools. Well, I didn't, 2 days ago. But I just need to reset and recharge and take a step back from the laptop and be like, right, you know, what am I in control of? You know, at the end of the day, you know, you're in control of the client's diet and training, exercise, whatever that may be at this current time. So there's a lot of variables and a lot of subcategories in that. So for me, I just needed to step back, and that was spot on what Joe said. And I'm sure there's a ton of people listening to this right now that are in that same scenario. So pick up the phone, reach out. You know, if there's people in the industry you look up to, now's the time to reach out. Now's the time to sort of network with them, because I guarantee you as you know, you'll come off the back of this. And already listening to Joe, me and Scott chat quite a lot, but listening to Joe's sort of how optimistic and how much he's feeling about it, I know I can speak for Scott as well and say that, you know, after this call, I'm dying to put the laptop down and think, get my notepad out and just flip it on its head. Because yesterday I had no networking. And I did feel a bit kind of, you know, a bit like, right, come 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, I was like, how was that day? So yeah, Joe, that was absolutely spot on what you said there, mate. And I think for trainers and general population alike.
Yeah, I think the other big thing as well is like accountability is king. Now, this doesn't mean that you need to go and hire a coach, you need to go and pay somebody or anything like that. But even just, again, like holding yourself, again, when it now comes to training from home, whatever it might be, it's obviously the live trainings that a load of coaches are now putting up on social media. It's the groups that you can be involved in. It can actually now be the challenges that you now might have with your mate. Or something along those lines. It's just going to allow you to put one foot in front of the other. And I think that's the biggest and the most important thing, is now just look at, right, okay, how can I now create accountability to ensure that I'm going to do exactly what I said I was going to do? And how can I make sure I can now bulletproof my progression, I can bulletproof my success by having the right support network, having the right support team, and having the right people in my corner to be able to do that. So it might be a challenge where you literally race with your mate to get the quickest 5K time. It might be a press-up challenge. Whatever it might be, at this present moment in time, accountability will be king in order for you to be able to progress, be proactive, move forward and develop. And again, that doesn't require you to go and pay a coach per se. But actually just creating that with somebody else will also create that positivity and will also allow you to channel your energy and channel your focus into something that's now going to be progressive, that's going to allow you to move forward. So I think that's what we need at this present moment in time. And big lesson, little sidetrack, apologies, that this has taught me is that when everything is stripped away from you externally, right? Okay, you can't go to restaurants, you can't go to bars, you can't go on holiday, you can't actually go out of the house other than once per day. Actually makes you realize and allows you to look internal. Actually, right? Okay, well, what now provides me with fulfillment? What provides me with purpose? What actually gives me happiness? Like, mate, the best thing that I do every single day that gives me the most amount of satisfaction more than anything else is walking my dog. Like, that is the most important aspect of my day that actually sometimes I used to take for granted and didn't necessarily appreciate, was having that freedom. And when I look at life and I look at, okay, what's most valuable and what's most important to me? Health, mentally, physically, love, having the right people around me, and also making sure that, I've got some fulfillment and I've got some purpose. Because I think without fulfillment and purpose, you can feel lost. And I think a lot of people at the moment may potentially be struggling with a little bit of like the kind of whole fulfillment and purpose thing, because so many things have been taken away. So that's why it's important that you can set like challenges, goals for your physical health, definitely even for your study or whatever it might be, that's going to allow you to have something you can work towards, because we need that momentum, that domino effect in order for you to be able to progress and move forward. Otherwise, you're going to stagnate, stall, and ever so slowly you're going to resort back, which we obviously don't want anybody to do.
Yeah, mate, spot on. And it's right. It's quite hard just now. A lot of feedback that I've had from clients is, how do you progress from this? Everybody's already thinking about survival mode. When we talk about a muscle building sense, we all know that you're not going to be causing the same sort of stress to the muscles in terms of building muscle. But I think, like Joe said there, you've got to look at it from a, what challenges can you set yourself from a realistic point of view that's going to show progress, that's going to show results, whether that be, I made this comment to Scott as well. It's like people saying, home workouts are too easy, and you're going, right, can you do 50 press-ups? And, you hit back with, we'll try 80. I can't do 80. Well, progress and try and get 80. Right now, that's all we've got in front of us. Yeah. So, I think that's a spot-on point, mate, is realising that there's opportunities here, and we just need to find something that gets us through the next 3 or 4 weeks, that whether that be using peer accountability, which is massive because it's competitive, it's also a bit of fun as well, other than just taking in a ton of memes and whatever else. But Scott, you want to tell us a bit more, mate? I last spoke to you in the last podcast about, you were giving your clients a couple of calls and stuff. Is there anything else that you've implemented the last couple of days, mate, since I've not fully spoke to you, that you think you could share and would benefit people?
There probably is a few things, to be fair. When Joe was actually talking about the accountability thing, I made a note here as he was talking about that. That is one of the kind of massive things that, more than anything, that's something probably that I've adjusted a little bit from person to person, particularly when it comes to one-to-one clients. I've potentially made little adjustments in terms of how we're going to kind of like have that same level of accountability, because they may be feeling a little bit lost, a little bit maybe worried about how they're going to stay on track, because they may be quite used to coming into the gym and seeing me, and from a personal reason, they probably felt like that gave them that extra little bit of accountability through the week. So that is one thing that I have probably spent more time adjusting from person to person, from client to client, than actually making massive changes to how we approach diet and things like that. Obviously, out with the exercise thing, which will have to change up if you don't have access to the gym. But in general, like you were saying about the press-ups thing and stuff like that, from a personal perspective, I've been more creative exercise-wise in the last 4 or 5 days than I can't remember how long. And I've found personally, like, it's actually been massively beneficial. There's been like a little bit of stress that comes with that. Joe was talking about when he was talking to Neil before, and how he'd been feeling quite stressed about things prior to having that conversation. And I've probably had like kind of similar sort of stresses as well, and I think that is quite useful. But out of that kind of stress and discomfort, it has pushed me to probably just expand my arsenal a little bit when it comes to like how we can factor in the kind of situation as it is just now, and be a little bit more creative and things like that. And I think ultimately, I honestly feel as though when it comes out the other side of this, and this all sort of kind of calms down a little bit, hopefully sooner rather than later, that I'll actually be better for it. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, it's not an ideal situation at all, but in terms of looking at the positives, that level of discomfort of having to change everything up just now and the stress that comes with that, I think will ultimately lead to myself coming out the other side of it a little bit better off. And I think that I've had a lot of conversations with clients around the same sort of lines as well. But yeah, I'd say the accountability thing's massive. It's something that I've been changing up quite a lot from person to person, probably more so than anything else, actually. And it's just about kind of having that maybe potentially increased level of accountability, even if it is just to alleviate any sort of like concerns that they have in terms of feeling a little bit lost just now, or a little bit worried that they're going to lose motivation or fall off track.
Yeah, mate. I love that. And it's any coach right now, and I'm sure when Joe has these conversations with his clients and stuff, personal trainers, coaches, it's forcing you to level up, because we have lost one of the biggest tools, which is usually a workout plan, a progressive training plan that is physical. We can see that, when you make someone a physical training plan, they can implement it, they can do it, and they can give you feedback. It's real physical, it's emotional, and that's a real big teller as a coach, that the client's happy, they're enjoying it with fulfillment from it. But as a coach, we need to now level up, and I agree with Scott in the sense of, I've looked into more and more details into what Joe mentioned, the big factors, is big five of brain and business and stuff. You've had to dig deeper into that now, and I'm now looking at it from a check-in point of view. Like, what is the client getting when they check in? What am I asking? Is it too much information? Is it not enough? Am I giving them the right cues to tell me exactly how they feel from a mental aspect, a physical? And yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you. And hopefully the coaches listening to this right now level up, and they do that by having the structure, like Joe said at the start. Do your check-ins. Once after this call for the next hour, I'll listen to another podcast. I'll zone out, and I'll try and make myself better as a coach. I'm doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes, so that when we do come out the back of this, it's ready and good to go. So that as a coach, I can offer a better service. So I totally agree with you, mate. As we, me and Scott, Joe still do one-to-one, quite a bit of one-to-one. So, you'll know what it's like, where there's a ton of stuff you say you're going to do, and then when you finish your one-to-one, you of course put it in the back burner. So I know for me, a lot of stuff in the back burner I'll be getting done. Scott mentioned the accountability and check-in things, and he's now been excited by the fact that he's no longer programming the same kit in the same gym, the same training plan. He's now having to spark out of a bit of a steady, I wouldn't say rut, but sort of steady system that he's been doing with the usual kit. So yeah, that's that. I would agree with Scott there, man. Joe, anything else you want to add on that, mate?
I think for coaches, in a world where there's so much uncertainty, if you can be certain and you can be confident and you can show your clients that there's a clear strategy that they've got in place, because a lot of clients now think, I can't go to the gym, shit, my goals are going to go out the window. No, absolutely not. We can adapt, we can adjust. And if you can clearly identify and clearly map out a clear customer client journey so that they can still continue to progress and get closer to their goals, you can provide them with the necessary touch points that they need in order for them to be able to progress. They've got that support network there. They've got that positivity there. Then there's no reason that they can't continue to progress, because fundamentally when it comes to fat loss, you can still manage your calories, you can still manage your daily activity at the moment, and you can still stimulate and train muscle and maintain and preserve the tissue that you've now accrued. If you have been focusing on muscle building, well, actually regressing a lot of your movements now down to body weight, focusing on mechanical tension, placing as much intramuscular force on muscles that you're trying to train is going to be key. And actually, if anything, it's probably going to improve the quality of your training, because now you're not going to be focusing so much on the external load. You're going to be placing more focus on the internal load, which actually as a byproduct is going to allow you to probably recruit tissue that you haven't been able to recruit, and will also give you a great platform that actually when you go back into the gym, you spent a lot of time working on the internal effort, so that actually when you go back into looking at the external effort of adding load, barbells, dumbbells, plates, weights, your ability then to actually contract is going to be much, 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 much better. And I've had loads of clients. We've just been doing 2 work sets at the moment using mechanical tension and stuff like that as basically a mechanism for hypertrophy and for them to be able to stimulate tissue that have now had DOMs in their legs and in their back and in their shoulders that they've never experienced or ever had before, because they're not now focusing on their weight. They're focusing on how they're actually lifting and moving. So I think it's important to understand that home training can be really effective. It can teach us so many things, and you can still continue to maintain. We know that you can still build muscle mass with 30% of your 1 rep max. As long as you're taking it to a near point of failure, you're going to be in a position where actually you have the potential to potentially continue to accrue tissue if that's your goal. If not, then actually you're still going to be at best maintaining the muscle mass that you've built. And then you've still got the mechanisms to be able to actually focus on fat loss through obviously controlling your food, controlling your daily activity, which then comes down to being disciplined, having high performance habits, and then clearly identifying what are your goals, what are you working towards, and now how can you make sure that you can focus on the process, not the outcome, but you can clearly identify what the outcome is every time there's a little bit of uncertainty, which just allows you to realign and it makes you realize, what am I actually doing all this for? Which I think is huge.
Yeah, mate, spot on, love it. And that hopefully that reassures people the fact that there's, light at the end of the tunnel with this, and even in the midst of the tunnel, there's still a lot of work to be done. I made a joke in the last podcast to Scott about, finally people might actually do full squats now, things like that. But that's just a joke and a nod to the fact that Joe was saying that, we can now focus on full range of movement. We're not going to be pushing, machines anymore. And you might find that, do you know something? The joints and ligaments in my knees and ankles, I've never felt like this before, but it's only going to strengthen them. And it's not just going to be the big, compound movements, that you've been doing to failure for 4, 5, 6 reps. So yeah, that's a good shift in focus, I think, for people to think about. And it will give them that sort of, right, okay, I get that. And thanks, Joe, for, explaining it a lot better than I would. That's for sure. But yeah, boys, is there anything else you want to add to the guys that think they benefit, or do you think we'll wrap up at that?
Scotty, anything?
No, I'm happy if you are.
Mate, the only final thing that I will say is when everybody's zigging, you need to zag. So the majority of people now, again, coaches and Gen Pop people, non-coaches, are probably going to be looking at the negative. They're going to be quite fixed mindset, and they're going to be looking at the worst case in the current position that they are in. A lot of people will. And it's your ability now to be the minority. And when everybody else is zigging, you need to zag. You need to have that proactive, that progressive mindset. You need to be in that position where you can have that growth mindset of, right, okay, what's the opportunity here? What can I do? How can I improve myself? My goals are still my goals. How can I make sure I've got high performance habits? I've got non-negotiables. I've built my armory in my day that's going to allow me to protect myself, that's going to allow me still to be able to continue to focus on the internal, that's going to allow me to move forward, which in turn is going to allow me to be selfish, to then be selfless, which then allows you to obviously offer the very best to everybody else, because you cannot serve from an empty vessel. And now more than ever, when obviously people need people, it's absolutely key that you can still continue to protect, guard, and look after your inputs. And you can be progressive with those, because in 3, 4, 5 months' time, there will be a slingshot effect where there are going to be loads of people that are now going to be going to the gym. There are going to be loads of people now wanting to get in shape. The gyms are going to be really busy, because it's going to make you appreciate the time that you've had away. So now use this as an opportunity to get one step ahead. Use this as an opportunity to be proactive in everything that you're doing, and bulletproof and double down on some of the things that you've wanted to be able to, and create accountability to force you to do that, so you can get comfortable being uncomfortable and you can make it happen. And doing that, you're going to have certainty, confidence, you're going to progress, and you're going to keep your sanity, and you're going to be able to come out the other side in a much better place, and to continue to be able to deliver, help, guide, coach, inspire people within society, and make sure that you are giving them your absolute utmost, which is going to be key.
Yeah, mate, spot on. It's that whole thing about strap your own life vest first, isn't it? So that you can actually help people. Spot on, Joe. Listen, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, bud. Some great knowledge bombs there. Scott, as always, thanks, mate. And, if anybody's listening to this still to the end, if you wouldn't mind giving it a wee share, give Joe a follow on Instagram as well. As you can see, he's a very, very knowledgeable man. Joe Parish is Joe Parish is the Instagram tag, is it?
Yeah, that's it, brother.
Yeah, and as always, Scott Simpson personal training. Hope you guys have a great week and implement straight away as soon as this podcast ends. And thanks to Joe and Scott.
Cheers, brother.
Right, guys.